Greetings and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. You undoubtedly have heard a lot this week about the outbreak of the swine flu, and you probably have heard everything you need to know about it. So why would I take the time right now to speak about it on the program? Because you know everything already anyway, don't you? Well, maybe not. First of all, how did that swine flu begin? Where did it begin? Well, most say, of course, it began in Mexico, but why? Most don't talk about that. Perhaps they don't know, perhaps they don't want to talk about it. But here's an interesting article which was published actually by the Huffington Post on April 27, written by David Kirby, an author who had written a lot about pandemics. And that's what he wrote. Industry calls these massive compounds confined animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. He's talking about these places where pigs are being held, though most people know them simply as factory farms. Within each confinement, thousands of pigs are restricted to indoor pens and grain-fed for market, while breeding sows are kept in small metal crates where they spend most of their lives pregnant or nursing piglets. Many of these CAFOs raise tens of thousands of pigs at a time. Pigs are nature's notorious mixing bowls for interspecies infections, and many swine flu viruses have long contained human influenza genetic components. So where did this new, virulent, and highly infectious influenza emerge from? According to Mexico's health minister, the virus mutated from pigs and then at some point was transmitted to humans. It sure sounds like something happened on some farm somewhere. And so this is an entirely possible scenario. Because of unsanitary conditions caused by men might very well have caused the outbreak of that swine flu. But now people are telling us, well, don't worry about eating pork because you can get it by eating pork. You can only get it because it's an airborne disease now from human to human. Is that true? Well, first of all, not everybody agrees with that. Notice that Egypt is slaughtering roughly its 300,000 pigs. We also read, and this is an article from the Associated Press dated April 29, that in Jordan, the country's 5 pig farms involving 800 animals are being closed. In addition, this is an article from KSL.com, April 26, Russia bans the import of meat products, mainly pig, from Mexico, California, Texas, and Kansas. South Korea said it would increase the number of its influenza virus checks on pork products from Mexico and the United States. Serbia on Saturday banned all imports of pork from North America. In addition, this is an article which was published today, May 1, talking about that Iraq will kill 3 wild boars in Baghdad Zoo to ward off the new flu sweeping the globe. But why would they do that if there is no danger that this influenza can be caused and transmitted by pigs? Well, Dr. Jafar, who heads the Iraq's committee, is saying, we know this virus is spreading by human-to-human transmission, but we cannot say, don't take these secondary measures which any country in the world would take. And then we also have an interview here in this article by Reuters, by the way, by the regional health minister saying that it is possible the disease could be spread by eating pork. So we banned hunting wild boars. So as I said, the concept which is being propagated today that you cannot get it by eating pork is not necessarily true at all. Plus which, the way it's presented by the mainstream media, specifically in the United States of America and in Europe, is not in accordance with what even WHO representatives are saying. Because they are saying that you can get it unless you thoroughly cook the meat. And they say you have to at least cook it with 72 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Fahrenheit. In addition, doctors have told us that you can get it if you handle raw meat. In other words, all those who are handling raw, uncooked meat can get it from that. Now, isn't it interesting, my friends, that God, thousands of years ago, told the Israelites not to eat pork? We find that in many scriptures in the Old Testament. Here's one I'd like to quote to you real briefly from Leviticus chapter 11, where he says that these are the animals which you shall not eat. And he lists quite a few, most of which we don't eat today anyway, but then he also lists the swine, and he says it is unclean to you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and notice, their carcasses you shall not touch. Now, if they touched a carcass of a swine, they had to wash themselves. And isn't it interesting that today we are being told that in order to prevent the spread of that swine flu disease, you got to wash yourself. Wash your hands thoroughly all the time in order not to pass it on. Is that interesting in light of the fact that God told the Israelites thousands of years ago to handle this problem in the way they should? And isn't it also interesting that there is nothing in the New Testament which does away with those prohibitions? Not one of the early Christians, as recorded in the New Testament, ever ate pork. Now, how does this swine flu outbreak affect our economy? Well, it affects it in great measure. First of all, because of the fact that the United States cannot export its swine products to certain countries, that of course affects it. But then notice this article from the USA Today, dated April 28. For an ailing global travel industry, swine flu couldn't have erupted at a worse time. It has the potential to paralyze travel. And then it goes on to say that the travel industry and the hotel industry wasn't doing good at all to begin with, and now because of that swine flu outbreak, it's really suffering a lot. Now, how are we doing in general insofar as our economy is concerned? Are the measures which are being taken helpful? Well, notice this article from the Associated Press dated April 27. This article says that the Treasury Department wants to borrow, notice this, $870 billion this year. $870 billion. Now, Congress in February, it says, boosted the limit for the national debt to $12.1 trillion as part of the legislation that enacted President Barack Obama's $787 billion economic stimulus program. But is this helping any? Is this really something which will help the economy? Apart from the outbreak of the swine flu and what this will do to the U.S. economy. The Spiegel Online, a German paper which is actually pro-Obama, wrote the following on April 30. The bailout programs are not being paid for with taxpayer money, as Obama claims. Instead, the money is coming from the savings of the Japanese, Chinese, and Europeans. Not only is this costly, but it also extremely risky. More important, it is not sustainable. By taking this approach, Obama is only leading his country more deeply into dependence on creditors from around the world. Before long, and listen to this statement, anyone who wishes to attack America will no longer need nuclear weapons, but merely sufficient dollar reserves. China already has close to $2 trillion stored away in its coffers. Somebody who wants to attack America can do that by just looking at the economy? Well, the Bible does say, my friends, unfortunately, that nuclear weapons will be used as well. But isn't that something? Here we have an economy which is going downhill, and it seems like everything we are trying to do to save it is destined to failure. Notice this article by Der Spiegel Online, dated April 29. The United States today is an economy that sucks in the savings of other nations. The government and private households borrow roughly $1 billion on each business day. Even when adjusted for the size of today's economy, the U.S. current debts significantly exceed debt levels during the Great Depression. The superpower has become an empire of debt. The most dangerous element of President Obama's crisis management program is that this debt is not being reduced, but expanded. And then the article is saying that more worse developments are to be expected. My friends, more than a year ago, I spoke about the Great Depression on these programs, and I said it is very likely that we will experience that long before many others talked about it. How did I know? Because the Bible tells me so. The Bible says very clearly in its pages that in these end times, America's economy will go downhill. Pandemics will spread in the world, like the swine flu. These are things which God has prophesied regardless as to who is going to lead this country. But there's also good news, as I pointed out in the program on the Great Depression. If you are a true Christian, if you are converted, if you are following God's lead, you have no reason to worry. Good news is coming. We have prepared a booklet which is entitled The Fall and Rise of Britain and America. America will fall, yes, but it also will rise again. And the words in this famous song, God Bless America, will come true, but not in the way many people expect. What a glorious time that will be. Thanks very much for watching, and keep tuned to our programs. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.